morning and welcome to the Red and Ed Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I'm your host, Jay Edgar, and I'm joined to my right, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Elaine. Elaine, how was your week? How was this crazy week for you?
It's been busy, like really busy. How's yours been?
It's been there. We've got a lot going on here. I've been seeing some of the stuff on the wall and trying to fix some other stuff that's been going on in the background here. We'll talk just a bit about that as we go on along this week, but it's just been crazy. Did you happen to get to see? Well, I texted you about this, but I don't know if you saw any of the release or anything off of this. We broke the website this week.
You did, yeah. I didn't. You told me the website was broken, so I didn't try to get on the website because I knew it was broken. But yeah, wow. And there was a special reason for that, right?
Yes, so our friend Stephen Ignoramus was streaming down at the Capitol. He got about 40,000 concurrent viewers at once. Oh, looks like I gotta get rid of my Hangouts up here. He had about 40,000 viewers at once. He was actually in the Capitol building when they were doing all this stuff here. And just about the time he was at 40,000 views, he also decided that he was going to give a shout out to freedomscoop.com, and we had 30,000, according to the web lady, we had about 30,000 people try to get onto the website at once, and we did not have the server space for that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was broken for an hour. I thought I'd put the image up there, but I guess I didn't. But yeah, Freedom Scoop tweeted out right as soon as it happened. We're sorry for the inconvenience for that. We are working on getting this fixed right now. But yeah, it's a good part. It's a good problem to have. It definitely is. I gotta turn.
It is a good problem to have. We experienced that right after the presidential debates with Joe Jorgensen's website. It went completely down. And because the traffic just completely overwhelmed it, we had to go get everything up and running again. There were, I don't know, we had a 400% increase in traffic, I think. It was insane.
And like I said, it's a good problem to have. I mean, we could definitely have...
But frustrating and stressful when it happens.
I found it. I put it in the wrong tab, by the way. So yeah, that's what Freedom Scoop put out there. Our website is temporarily down due to an unexpected surge in traffic. Our team is working on it and will be back up as soon as possible. So thank you to Stephen Ignoramus for the shout out, and welcome to anybody else who was watching this show because of that spike in traffic. Hopefully you guys like what you see, and hopefully it'll give us a chance to get some more advertising sold and build back better, as a certain ancient decrepit old man likes to say.
I was going to say I probably should be on my best behavior this week.
What did you do?
Nothing. Yet. All right. So you promised me we had the world's fastest, shortest lightning round.
We do. Before I get onto the lightning round, I just wanted to do one thing. I mean, because we're going to get the big piece of the news out of the way right at first off of this one here. Big breaking news, almost completely forgotten about at this point here. Donald Trump got up on Friday and decided that he was going to make a speech. Before we do lightning round, before we do anything else, let's just listen to what the Donald had to say that still was not good enough for MSNBC.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism, faith, charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
So, we have an official concession at this point.
Was that a concession?
That's what everybody's calling it off at this point.
I don't know. He doesn't say that he didn't say explicitly that he accepts the results of the election.
What are you,
So I don't know
out?
if it actually counts as a concession.
Yeah. For the most part, everybody's moved along and accepted it at this point, and
I think they probably have just accepted that this is as good as they're going to get, and so they better just take it and shut up. But I do want to address one thing that he said. He said that he ordered National Guard troops to expel the intruders from the Capitol building as soon as possible. That's incorrect. Because from what I've gathered legally, I had to pull it up because I wanted to make sure that I got this right. That the DC mayor has to get Pentagon approval to do anything with the DC National Guard. So that is the chain of command. The mayor has to go to the Pentagon has to approve it formally, and then things can happen. So rioters breached the barricade just before 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
The Pentagon did not formally approve the National Guard until 5:45 p.m. There was a bunch of stuff that happened in between that time, but apparently the mayor just got fed up of waiting and took an unofficial communication from the Pentagon as the go-ahead and call them in. And so they went ahead and did it, and basically were like, we'll just get approval afterwards. But it didn't come in until almost 6 p.m.
Well, we are going to be talking a lot about that here, coming up here in a bit here. But before we get into any of that here, there are a couple just little cleanup things that I wanted to talk about before we got into this here. First off, reading from the Daily Wire, Kamala Harris, freedom. Kamala Harris' story about demanding civil rights as a toddler is lifted from a 1965 MLK Jr. interview. Evidence emerged on Monday on Twitter that a story that Senator Kamala Harris told Elle magazine in October about demanding civil rights from the time she was in a stroller was seemingly lifted from a story that Martin Luther King Jr. gave to Playboy in 1965. Now, there's so much wrong with this story here. Apparently, Kamala Harris was bouncing around in her stroller when she was like 2. Nobody noticed that she bounced out of there because there's no safety equipment. Nobody noticed that she was gone, and then all of a sudden they found her. She was all crying and upset, and her mom asked her what she wanted, and she said, freedom, which is apparently what happened to Martin Luther King Jr. at the same time. He found a little girl and got the same thing. It's weird how many of her stories have happened to other people before.
Exactly. That's what I was just thinking. Like, oh, that's so coincidental. I wonder how that happened.
What was your take on that one?
She's just full of crap.
I
That's my take.
I figured it was going to be nice and simple. A little bit of news from my neck of the wood here on two fronts with this one here. No Kenosha officers are going to face charges in the Jacob Blake shooting, the prosecutors say. Some evidence has come out from looking at the medical examination of Jacob Blake now, and it almost looks like he was turning around getting ready to slash at the officers. They found some of the entrance wounds going into his side, not just into his back at this point. So there is not going to be any charges filed against Jacob Blake at this point. There's not going to be anything charged on Jacob Blake, not against the officer. Everybody's going to walk away from this one here. And a lot of the conservative pundits were out there more outraged over the fact that there were not going to be any charges against Jacob Blake.
Isn't he dead?
Jacob Blake lived.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, I thought he was dead.
No, he is.
It's hard for me to keep track of who gets killed. Okay.
Yeah. No, he is alive.
It's
He is
like
paralyzed,
Survivor.
but he is alive.
Okay. I don't know. It's messy. Unless you were there, I mean, how do you really know?
Well, yeah, and I know that the body cams were on order for this year, which they had not
Hmm.
been applied yet, but they actually got approved last year, right before all of this happened. So they were supposed to start the first of this year. I don't know if that has gone through yet or not, but yes, body cams were supposed to start at the first of this year. So yeah, you're right. Unless you were there, you have no idea what's going to happen, and the only thing they can go with is the medical examination
Hmm.
and the evidence in front of them. In the same vein here, Kyle Rittenhouse has pleaded not guilty to his shootings. Now, a lot of people got outraged with Kyle Rittenhouse at this point, which I don't know where you stand on that one. I still think it's all self-defense here. But he Zoom called in from his lawyer's office to the Kenosha County Court, where he entered the plea of not guilty. He is out on bond right now, and a lot of people got outraged by this photo. There it is. Let me get rid of the Donald here, because for whatever reason I wound up putting that in the same scene. This photo here of Kyle Rittenhouse in a Mount Pleasant bar, another photo in the same article had him holding a beer, wearing a free as fuck t-shirt.
Wow. Kid has balls.
Yeah. Some of the outrage came from the fact that he is underage and was in possession of an alcoholic intoxicant. However, by Wisconsin law, as long as you are with a parent, you can drink at any age above the age of 14, as long as you are in the presence of a parent.
I did not know that.
Yep.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
he has literally done nothing wrong at this, and yet they're still trying to crucify him over it.
I mean, is the t-shirt in bad taste?
Yes.
I mean, it is to people on the left. I wouldn't be going, if I was him, I would not be going out of my way to trigger people more, because that's just going to make the court proceedings more difficult. But whatever. It's a free country.
Uh,
Ish.
by the way, to the live chat here, tell your friends that we have no D-Live tonight for whatever reason. I put the D-Live monitor up and it never ticked over, and the live chat is confirming that we have no D-Live tonight. I went over, I looked at the feed, and it is not streaming to D-Live. It's still sending data over there. So tell your D-Live friends to head on over to the YouTube. In a brief little bit of almost insignificant news, except for the fact that the dude was an asshole, Steve Scully is returning to C-SPAN after lying about the fact that my Twitter got hacked and I was trying to contact Scaramucci and find dirt before the debate.
I believe my exact quote was, "Do we really care about Steve Scully? Does that have to be on the schedule?"
Yeah, there's not a lot to go there. You knew that the mainstream media hacks were going to take him back. They just had to put him out there for show. So he is back and ready to go here. And the last one I have here before we get into the big news this week is South Korea is back in the news at this point because, God damn it, no, I'm not going to turn my ad blocker up for you. South Korea is opening up diplomatic talks due to Iran saber rattling over in the Middle East this week. Let me see if this will actually do this. No, it will not. So, as we talked about last week, Iran captured a South Korean tanker going through the Strait of Hormuz, captured all of the sailors, and now South Korea is dispatching diplomatic talks in there to try and get this settled in a peaceful manner. But, we're sitting here at the point of we have no idea what's going to happen off of this. We don't know what's going to happen with the new administration in here. And, There's two people in here who have voted for every single military action that's ever been put in front of them. Are you ready
It'll
to
be
go back to
interesting.
war in the Middle East?
It'll be interesting to see how it turns out, but I don't think it's going to go very well.
Are
They're
you
going to see South Korea as an American proxy, and so they're not going to treat South Korea very well, period.
are you ready to go back for more Middle East war?
What do you mean go back? We never left.
Yeah, no. They like it over there apparently. It's the new vacation spot for as soon as you get out of high school. Just put on a little bit of tan camouflage and spend years over there.
It's a beach with no water. The world's largest beach. Maybe some mountains.
Well, are you ready to go into what completely changed the outline and the way the show was going to go on Wednesday?
We might as well start. Time limit, though.
Yeah, we are going to have to limit this at some point here. So this week, in spite of everything else, in spite of a new strain of coronavirus showing up in Georgia, in spite of the hospitals being full in California, all kinds of stuff that I had to cut for time from this week's show here. On Wednesday, the entire news cycle changed as protesters began to break into the Capitol, for lack of a better word. Now, a lot of debate has come up this week as to whether or not this was patriotic, whether or not this was good, whether or not this was right. Let's start with the lighthearted stuff here because I do have to come out and say that the meme game was on point this week with all the stuff that came out of this, including this one.
So many memes. So many.
I had to credit this one right. I've got to credit this one to Freckle Liberty because she was the one that put this out here, and I told her I was going to say her name on the show because this one came out here. As you see on the screen, the Chad guy from the memes and kind of dumb guy in a Make America Great Again hat says, "Nice job. Can you go storm these departments too? They're full of libtards." And he's got a list that says IRS, Federal Reserve, ATF, and DEA.
I think my favorite one was the Kool-Aid man bursting through the Capitol window with the guns pointed at him.
I did not see the Kool-Aid man, but
the Kool-Aid man meme is on my Facebook page, Libertarian Redhead on Facebook. If you want to go see it, there are also a few other memes that deal with the Capitol building break-in. Can I talk for just a second about how we spell Capitol building? Am I allowed to do that?
OL is the building and AL is the city, correct?
Sort of. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. If it's something that is the only one of its kind, so if you have a Capitol building in your state, well, that's your only state Capitol building, so you can spell that OL.
Okay.
AL is the city or, capital, like investment capital, AL. But they are different. I promise they're different. Please stop saying it's the Capitol building with an AL. I am begging you. My inner grammar and spelling nerd is not happy about this.
Your friend Austin Peterson provided me with another meme that actually got taken down off Instagram, but I was able to snag it before that. We have Osama bin Laden saying, "You mean to tell me I could have just walked up to the door?"
That's
I liked
great.
it. So,
Wow.
and I've got some video to go along with this as well. But for those who are not catching up with any of this, and I don't know how you could because the mainstream media has pretty much put this wall to wall everywhere off of this. Protesters went to the Capitol and occupied the Capitol building. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Stephen Ignoramus was actually in the crowd and got into the Capitol building and was live streaming and filming the entire time he was in there. Which I've got one of his fans now on my page every day saying that Stephen Ignoramus is going to be going to prison. He's literally stalking all my videos that have Stephen in them and putting comments
Who
on
is
there.
what?
I don't know what the dude's name is, but yeah, he's stalking and commenting on every video that has Stephen Ignoramus in it, saying that he's going to prison. Which,
But did Stephen make it out of the Capitol?
yeah, he made it out of the Capitol.
Oh.
I mean, it was all peaceful. Everything was good. All he did was live stream. He didn't break a window. He got caught up in the crowd, which I'll go onto my Alex Jones rant about where I think all of that happened because that was a little bit crazy here. Starting with this here, this is actually showing people getting in and getting past some of the Capitol Police. Let's have a look at this one. Where are you? There you are.
Fucking traitors! Oh, traitors! Fucking traitors!
Ooh, I'm getting a lot of feedback.
That's the alarm.
They're gonna lock us in.
Because they have the fire alarm going on the whole time. It's not feedback.
Yeah, there's truckers.
There you go, right past the Capitol Police. My motherfucking house.
The traitors! There's Trump!
So that video is in stark contrast to the fact that people are saying that there were walls of human shields and people getting trampled because the police were blocking from in there. I mean, you saw it right there. They just let him walk by.
Yeah. I think they probably figured that if they tried to stop them, it would just be worse than if they just let them through. I'm not excusing it. I don't think that they should have done that, but they also didn't have backup at that point in time. They were it. So if any one of them went down, there was going to be a hole in their line. So they were doing what they needed to do from a tactical perspective. It wasn't the best course of action, but that's what it was. That's what they had to work with. Like I said, they didn't get approval to have National Guard in there until almost 6 p.m.
Now, most people got their first sight of this from this story coming from ABC showing people climbing the wall. That seems to be where everybody started talking about this when I first saw this here. So let's see what they show us here.
Yeah, you can't understand how it happened. That's what a lot of people are wondering at this point. Have you been given any information, as we see now others trying to climb that fence as well? You've been given any indication of how the situation is going to be gotten under control? We know the Capitol Police can't do it alone. Do you expect that the leadership is going to have to call in for more reinforcements, perhaps the National Guard?
Absolutely. I can't imagine how the Capitol Police can deal with the situation now because they are absolutely outnumbered. It probably will be needed to bring in the National Guard to secure the Capitol because the president has instigated a riot.
There he is, red hat and all, just about right up there on the fence.
Crime? Maybe they need to go over to Pennsylvania Avenue and arrest him. This is just so appalling and so.
And the first call for Trump's arrest on that, too. Now, I didn't see the speech until today. I don't know if you've seen the actual speech that began off of this. I got about a minute 26 of it off the beginning. That seems to be why they think that they need to go out and make the arrest off of this. Mm-hmm. I just want to fly through a couple of the rest of these before we get into some of the discussion. And then I've got even more here. This was so crazy. I don't even know where to begin off of this.
And I was told by the real pollsters, we do have real pollsters, they know that we were going to do well and we were going to win. What I was told, if I went from 63 million, which we had 4 years ago, to 66 million, there was no chance of losing. Well, we didn't go to 66. We went to 75 million, and they say we lost. We didn't lose. And by the way, does anybody believe that Joe had 80 million votes? Does anybody believe that? He had 80 million computer votes. It's a disgrace. There's never been anything like that. You could take third world countries. Just take a look. Take third world countries. Their elections are more honest than what we've been going through in this country. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Even when you look at last night, they're all running around like chickens with their heads cut off with boxes, and nobody knows what the hell is going on. There's never been anything like this. We will not let them silence your voices. We're not going to let it happen. Not going to let it happen.
And they start chanting, which is usually when teleprompter Trump goes away, when they start chanting like that. So before we get into any more of this, and there's still more off of this, including a weird terrorist threat that seemed to come in about flying a plane into this, I want to get your take on what you've seen so far off of this. Where you think this is, what you think this is, and where it goes from here.
Well, like I said to you before we turned the cameras on, was I'd really like to know, like, was this riot, protest, whatever you want to call it, what was the split here? How many of the people there were protesting what they perceive as an unfair election versus how many of them are just mad that Donald Trump isn't going to be president anymore? Where's the split? Is it 60-40? Is it 50-50? Is it, which way does it go? That's really my main question about all of this, because going into it, before it happened, I thought that the majority of people that were showing up were just super pro Trump.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't really, it was about the election results, but they were just expressing their anger that they weren't getting the candidate that they wanted, not necessarily that there is any kind of legitimate fraud or not. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think the two groups, I think there are definitely people that are in both groups that were part of this event. But I don't know what the slant is one way or the other, like the numbers.
Well, and of course, all the conspiracy theories came out too about, it's Antifa. And actually, the reality of all of this is, I mean, this wasn't.
So far, facial recognition cameras have only identified 2 known Antifa activists in that crowd. Only 2. That's it.
But I mean, once you have, what did they say? What did they say in Men in Black? A person is smart, but people are dumb.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So once you've got one, go ahead.
Groupthink takes over, and then it becomes a completely different atmosphere after that. And then it becomes, it takes on a life of its own, and it goes in a direction that you may not have planned, that you did not anticipate at all.
And I think that's part of what we're seeing with this too, is just, even if it was just a few people, a smattering of a handful of people in Antifa that were coming in and pushing this out, or BLM or anything else like that. Mm-hmm. Once they start to see somebody bust down the door and, these people are all in there with their Stop the Steal chant, they're going to go right along with that in a herd fashion. I'm pretty sure that's... And when I caught up with Steven's stream, he was already inside the Capitol, so I'm not sure what happened, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened with him. I'm just actually trying to see if he could do a quick cameo on the show tonight, but he wound up not being able to because of family responsibility. But I'm pretty sure that's how he wound up getting in there, was just getting swept up along the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, if you're kind of in the middle of a crowd, there's nowhere for you to go. There's no way for you to split off. If you're on the edge, you can. But if you are in the middle of a mass of people, you're stuck. You can't go anywhere. You have to go where everybody else goes. It's like a school of fish, basically.
And I know that, with him too, he never got into the chambers or anything, which I know we'll talk a bit about that in just a second here. But with him, he was just in the rotunda. And oddly enough, for somebody who lived in Washington, D.C. for 10 years, he claimed on the live stream he'd never been in the rotunda before. Which is interesting. But, it was insanity to see that there. And, even in his live stream, you had the feedback sounding fire alarm going off the whole time. And, we heard tasers crackling. I texted you about that. What did I text you? The boot is coming down or something?
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah. When it was happening there. I mean, that was an intense live stream to watch. Just everything else that was going on there. And, he was peaceful for the whole time. It was 8 hours. YouTube took it all down too. 8 hours worth of work, and it's just all gone. Instagram took it all down. And I don't think he was even in with some of the violent stuff, but I don't know what they hope to accomplish. That's been one of the biggest bothers for me. Because I didn't think this was going anywhere.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought that it was just going to turn into a pro-Trump rah-rah rally, like
Yeah.
campaign rally type thing. I didn't think that it was going to turn into breaching buildings and all that kind of stuff.
Which, and that's for the most part what it seemed like it was billed as. And I mean, even with the speech, right now they're trying to come back and they're trying to claim that Donald Trump incited all of this because of the speech that he gave, the one that we just listened to off there. I didn't hear it in that speech, and I listened to the whole thing.
Hmm.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Did you hear it in there?
No, but I also didn't hear a concession either.
That's that's relatively fair off of that one here. Some of the things that happened with this. Actually, let's back up before we get into what happened in the Capitol. I mean, we saw the writing on the wall with some of the stuff here because this was from the night before in BLM Plaza. Come on, wake up. Sorry, my video is running slow here, but okay, this was from the night before when, once again, the Trump supporters were clashing with cops. And of course, the first thing that you read in all the comments, because I took this video right from Twitter, was, well, I thought all the blue lives mattered. What are you doing?
Oh, see, that was the other thing. It was killing me because it was like all of a sudden these people, because I see it all the time. I've seen it all over the South. I've seen it all over the Midwest. You probably see it up where you are, where people have a Gadsden flag and a thin blue line flag on the same flagpole. These are the same type of people that went to the Capitol to protest and then suddenly found out that the thin blue line and the Gadsden flag don't actually go together.
Yeah. I've seen a better pair than that. I was coming home from work in Janesville one day and sitting at an intersection, and I saw a little white S10 with a massive, like, big Trump flag and a Gadsden flag next to it.
These people are so delusional. I just can't. I can't
right.
with them.
Let's see the video here of the January 5th clash in the streets.
This is American blood! Fucking American blood!
There's the pepper spray. So that happened down on BLM Plaza. And there were several other clips that were identical to that one that went along with that, including one of the police officers just walking up and right in a woman's face. Right in the nose, she popped her.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think would be a bit of an excessive use of force. But, I mean, this goes right along with the video that we saw last week, too, where they were stomping on the thin blue line flag out in Portland. And the guy's exact quote in that video was, "I supported you all fucking summer, now you do this to me." And
Yeah,
the state's not your friend. It's not.
No, they're not. They are only your friend when it suits them. When it gets them something that they want, they will absolutely be your friend. Every other time, F you. They do not care.
So there was that there. Going on to some of the stuff that happened in the Capitol here. We had a couple of characters that popped off of this. So we had this gentleman here who has been arrested because of facial recognition, carrying the podium with a great big smile and a wave on his face. I don't see a problem here. He could probably do more with that podium than Nancy Pelosi can, and that was the speaker's podium too. What else do we have? I've got...
Did that get returned or did they have to replace it?
I don't know.
I'm wondering if it got like left outside on the steps or something like that and they just left it there.
I
what
can't...
what a trophy.
Yeah.
Like, damn. Somebody's great grandkids are gonna find that in an attic somewhere sometime and they're gonna be like, oh, this is the podium. This is the one.
Did you see the weird Buffalo Man that everybody seems to be talking about?
Yes, Buffalo Man. He's a huge Trump supporter. He counter-protested at Antifa riots, and that's why people are like, he's Antifa. No, he's not. He's a QAnon person. He's always been a Trump supporter. He's very well known. I think somebody either on my Twitter or on my Facebook page, when I posted a meme that had him in it, they said that he was local to them and he is a very well-known Trump supporter. Like, he's definitely not Antifa at all.
But I mean, gentlemen in the chat, what's stopping you from looking like this? I mean, it's probably wrong what he did, but still, you got to admire the brass ones on a dude like that who's willing to do something like this, dressed as a gigantic buffalo with the American flag painted over his face. That's, I'm sorry, that's boss energy right there. Regardless,
I got fact checked on Facebook for posting the meme of Buffalo Man next to the Simpsons Buffalo Man, because the Simpsons Buffalo Man had Photoshop tattoos on to match the other guy. Everything else about it was correct, but someone added the same tattoos that the real life guy has. They fact checked me for that shit. It's the Simpsons.
yeah.
Like, come on.
Well, one of the things that's been going on with this, I don't necessarily buy that all the Simpsons stuff was Simpsons predicted. I think some of this is re-edit, going back over and saying, oh, hey, let's edit this in here just a little bit, and now we can do this. So I don't buy any of the Simpsons stuff. There's been, I know I didn't put it up in the notes there, but I read about it on Contemporary, the letter I put in the Discord server that supposedly came from Nancy Pelosi's laptop. That was one of the big ones too, is it looks like a bunch of hard drives, laptops, and etc. came out of various Congress members' offices, including one that mysteriously had a document that was seemingly written in Word with Nancy Pelosi telling Ted Wheeler to keep it up and blame Trump for everything. I think that one was totally legit. Completely legit.
I mean, would it really surprise you? This is partisan politics. It's the American way. Like, does everyone okay, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second. Does everyone forget how petty the founding fathers were? This is not new. We have been petty for 250 years plus. Like, this is not new information. Partisan politics has been a part of America since day one. This is not new. Stop acting like it's like groundbreaking and new, and how dare they? We have literally been this way since our inception. Stop it.
We have been, and you're absolutely right on this one. Some other opportunistic things that came about because of this, though, some other stuff that we've got to talk about here. This wild video that I scabbed from CBS, which I have not been able to verify. I don't know if this is true. I've only been able to find this on one source anywhere. But apparently, Iran was planning on flying an airplane into the Capitol during the counting. Let's have a listen to what that sounded like.
We've got some more breaking news because CBS News has learned that the FBI and FAA are looking into a breach of the air traffic control system tonight after someone broadcast a threat to attack the U.S. Capitol over the radio frequencies used by pilots. CBS's Jeff Pegues has exclusive new reporting tonight.
The chilling threat, obtained exclusively by CBS News, was heard by multiple air traffic controllers on Monday afternoon in New York.
We are flying a plane into the Capitol Wednesday. Soleimani will be avenged.
Sources tell CBS News the Pentagon and other agencies were briefed today about the digitized voice recording and believe it was designed to suggest hitting the Capitol on the same day Congress is set to count the Electoral College results.
I'm going to say that one was a hoax. I don't know if you think so or what that is, but I'm going to say that one was a hoax. And like I said, I've not been able to find any other verification off this. Usually I try to find 2 or 3 sources. It was enough for me to bring up, but I don't know if this was bullshit or not.
It kind of sounds like it. But when someone says something that drastic, you have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Except when it's Nashville. Because we don't take that seriously at all.
Oh, Nashville. So, what else did we have in here? Some of the stuff was stolen out of there. What do you think is on some of those laptops that got jacked out of the Capitol? I got to ask about that.
I have no idea. Probably regular work communications. I mean, you might find some stuff on email servers, but because they're housed on servers, they're probably just going, I don't know if you can do this because I'm not a tech person, but I would imagine that they could probably just lock those accounts. So even if someone had the computer, they still couldn't get into the email server. Um, Maybe some personal things. I don't know. That would probably be stretching it a little bit because they know they're not supposed to use those for personal reasons.
Hmm.
Um, I would imagine it's probably a lot of boring legalese, bill drafts and notes and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll find something interesting on one of them. Whoever has them, I would imagine that they have plans to get it to someone and have it analyzed or have it, have things pulled off of it. I don't know why else you would take them. Like, you wouldn't take them unless you're planning on doing something with them.
No, that's true. And I mean, I would like to get some information as to what was going on in the government at some point. I think that would be a much more productive use of breaching the Capitol at this point than trying to overturn an election that, quite frankly, whether you believe that it went off completely fair and without a hitch, or whether you believe that it was actually stolen, but not actually stolen, everything was above board, Susan Wojcicki, wink, wink, honk, honk. Whether you believe, whichever way you believe, it's probably a better use of your time to get in, to get, how do I want to put this, to understand what the government is trying to do to you than it is to try and get that overturned. Because if they really did steal it, but they didn't, wink, wink, honk, honk, if they really did do that, they're going to cover their tracks enough that you're not going to get it overturned. But hey, let's see what they're talking about with each other instead. I don't know.
Maybe. I do think it would be interesting to see whatever comes out of it.
What do you know about this Ashley Babbitt thing? Because this has been a little bit bizarre too, right from the beginning.
I didn't start. I mean, I knew I knew she was a veteran, and I knew that her name was Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw news stories saying that she was a self-proclaimed libertarian, and then the chair of our party put out a statement saying that she was never affiliated officially with the Libertarian Party. And then I think I don't think they retracted it or anything like that, but I think they did find that at one point in time she was registered with the party, but I don't think she was like a currently active member. I think she was active years ago.
Right.
But honestly, I'm late on paying my dues, so technically I'm not a dues paying member anymore either. So it's easy to forget to do that kind of thing.
I've never paid my dues.
So yeah, they have to remind me like 10 times. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, with this, so Capitol Police Department released a statement Thursday morning on Wednesday's breach of the Capitol building by a mob of President Trump's supporters. They identified the woman who was shot and killed by a USCP officer as Ashley Babbitt. Babbitt served a total of 12 years in the Air Force Reserves, and Air National Guard as a security forces controller, and had the enlisted rank of senior airman. So, I mean, she was National Guard. They identified off of this. And I have not seen, and of course, even if I had the video, I wouldn't be able to show it because it's YouTube, but I've not seen the video of what happened, but from what I understand, she was trying to crawl through a broken window, 3 Capitol police officers behind her, and then another one that was inside of the Capitol shot and killed her as she was stuck in the window, to the point that even Sean King has come out and said, no, this is too far, whereas everybody else around him has said, no, it's all good that she got killed because she was a Trump supporter.
Mm-hmm. I do give him props for attempting to be consistent, even though I don't like him on the whole.
But then something weird started to happen around Ashley Babbitt. And I started to swear that Candace Owens was working for the New York Post at this point, because every day since that happened, another story has come out about Ashley Babbitt's criminal past, including the one that I had linked in the description, or I'm sorry, in the show notes here. Just this one here from the New York Post. Ashley Babbitt was once hit with property destruction charges. Let me stop that autoplay. just in case something comes up that Wojcicki won't like or will get caught in the algorithm. But yeah, we're seeing stories about she tried to run her ex-girlfriend's or her husband's ex-girlfriend's car off the road. She's had property destruction charges, no convictions as far as I can tell.
She sounds crazy.
But none of that should matter, and whether or not she was justified in being killed. That's the
No,
problem
no,
that I
no,
have
it
with it.
doesn't. No, it doesn't at all.
But I mean, it's the same thing with Jacob Blake. It was the same thing with St. George. It was the same thing with Ahmaud Arbery, for that matter. As soon as they came into the light as somebody who was killed by the police, every detractor out there, hey, no, you know what? No, this person was this person was a bad person.
Yeah, they totally deserved it because of whatever reason. And it can be the most trivial thing ever.
And like, I'm never going to argue that St. George was a good person because he wasn't.
None of us really are we? I mean, people are complicated. I don't think you can say that any one person is just all around a good person, like always, and has been their entire lives.
I mean,
Or
I
at
try to
least
be
if,
now,
or if
but I
you
used to
could,
be a
it's,
womanizer.
yeah, or if you could, I mean, so I don't know. This is very off topic, but I think that different people bring out different sides of your personality. And so to one person, you might be literally the spawn of Satan, but to another person, you might be the best thing that ever happened to them. It just depends.
Yeah, I don't really know but once again, as I pointed out, I mean, yes, St. George pointed the gun at the pregnant lady's belly, but that has no bearing on what happened in Minneapolis that day. That has no bearing on that whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't have any bearing on what happened on that day at all.
And yet some of these people are out there trying to make it. And it's the same thing with Ashley Babbitt. What she was doing in Maryland or whatever the hell has no bearing on whether or not the Capitol Police needed to act in the fashion that they acted. They had no idea. They didn't even know who she was. I mean, hindsight's always going to be 20/20 off of this, but the way that they're trying to politicize this, and once again, all these people who were so defund the police now saying that the Capitol Police get a pass off of this. And I do have to wonder, and Styx brought this up in one of his videos over this past week. Do you think the defund the police crowd would have been in favor of defunding, let's say, the Capitol Police, the ones who protect Congress? Do you think they would have been in favor for that? No,
I don't
they're
know.
protecting the elites.
No, yeah, that's true.
When we hear people out there that are saying that the worst thing that the Trump supporters did in all of this was the fact that they breached the most holy place in U.S. government, this is cult-like behavior. See, I think I had one more here that I wanted to get to this one, because I know you didn't want to spend a lot of time, and we spent a lot of time on this. What was the other story I wanted to hit on this? Okay, yeah, just kind of what happened off of this, kind of peter this out before we get into the rest of everything here. So, after all this went down, Congress was reconvened. Was it? Yeah, it was 8 o'clock Eastern time. They reconvened. They went through. They finished counting up the votes, and all of this was for naught, as they say, because Joe Biden is officially confirmed as the president-elect off of this. Mike Pence did what most people are saying is the right thing, and I could honestly see that go either way. I could see it could be the right thing or the wrong thing at this point, but he did what was constitutionally necessary of him, and I mean,
There was also some drama between Trump and Mike Pence right around that date. Apparently, earlier in the week, Trump banned Mike Pence's chief of staff from the White House, said he didn't want him there anymore. And then there was some speculation that Mike Pence unfollowed Trump on Twitter, and some different things happened. We haven't even gotten to how many people have resigned since January 6th. And I mean, Betsy DeVos, Melania Trump's chief of staff, deputy press secretary. I mean, there's like, I think like the sixth in line person for the Department of Homeland Security is now acting secretary or something. I mean, I probably didn't say that right, but it's getting out of hand. Like the rats are jumping ship
Oh
really
yeah.
quickly.
No, a lot
And I
of them
think
want to.
and I do think some of them already had other jobs lined up because they probably started looking right after the election was over, even though their boss was technically saying, "We really won, we really won, we really won." I mean, are you really going to bank on that? Probably not when it's your career and you need to make money and you know, you know that you have an end date now. So now you start looking for new work. So a lot of these people are just leaving because, well, it's a politically expedient time to do so.
Hmm.
But I do think a lot of them are leaving because of that specifically, not because they know that their job is over and things like that. So,
Well, even there, like the Lincoln Project is coming out directly and saying that no, we need to make sure that these people never work again. They're making lists, which I mean, every time a socialist makes a list, that makes me just a little bit nervous.
supposedly Roger Stone went on some rant on Parler saying that we're making lists of all the Republicans that don't support Donald Trump. We're going to track them. We're going
Yeah, because
into a new age of
that's better.
we're going into a new age of McCarthyism. That's exactly what this is. If you're on the right and you don't like Trump, you're going to get blacklisted. And if you're on the left, you've already blacklisted everybody on the right because you just assume that everyone supports Trump.
Well, to be fair, if you're on the left, that people on the left go out and tell people like, I don't know, Jessica Green, whose Twitter handle was literally anarchy toward forever, that she's a Trump supporter. I saw that
Mm-hmm.
today. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, a lot of these people aren't playing with a full deck anyway.
No, they're not.
But I mean, that was something. I mean, if you want to touch on that real quick, that was something I actually had cut for time. But yeah, the fact that they're out there, hopefully hoping that they can go and get jobs after all of this, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're coming for them. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're getting it from both sides. It's not just that the left is going after the right, it's that the right is literally eating itself.
Well,
That is something that didn't happen during McCarthyism. McCarthyism was very just blanketly anti-communist, anti-socialist, period. It wasn't communists and socialists going at it and saying, we're blacklisting you. No, we're going to blacklist you. But that's exactly what's happening on the right currently.
mm-hmm.
And that's why, to me, this feels different than every other election where a party hasn't gotten what it wants, or they've maybe not picked a great candidate and then that candidate lost. This just feels different to me. I feel like the GOP is headed for a breakup.
Well, I know a lot of them did align themselves behind Trump at some point too, in order to get elected. That was something that I also had up in the notes that I decided to cover time too. But I mean, Loeffler was almost instantly, as soon as the riots happened and as soon as her election was called, she's like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Fuck Trump. I don't care about the objection anymore. Thank you for your vote, Trump supporters."
Right, exactly.
I saw a lot of that coming up here too, which is, I mean, that's got to be another one too, where the woman's looking at this saying, okay, well, I supported Trump through all this. Maybe if I turn my back on him at this point, I can work again after this, or my husband can work again after this, because he was the head of the New York Stock Exchange. I don't know if he still is anymore at this point, or if he's going to be able to, because of her position behind Trump, but
Yeah, I don't know. We will see. It's all going to come out in the wash one way or the other. I do think, I think honestly, if Trump doesn't end up either being able to or deciding to run for re-election in 2024, one of his children will.
that's even scarier to me at this point because I've seen all of his children.
But the only one that would be remotely acceptable, and I would still have issues with it, would be Ivanka. The boys are just off their rockers.
Yeah. And we are going to get into that in just a second here. You want to catch us up with the live chat? Because it's been
Do I?
it's been a while.
Do
And
I?
then we'll talk
Yeah,
about
we
the
can do
social
that.
media purge that went on this week that seems to be related to all this.
we're almost an hour in and we just now checked the live chat. So there's a lot. Um, kind of a lot of our usual friends are here. Ron's here, Saint is here, Harvey showed up, Nephilium is here, Nailbender was here for a minute. I don't know if he's still here. I'm glad Harvey's here. Haven't seen her in a minute. Have some couple of new people, I think. So we're all glad that you've joined us. How far back should I go? I feel like if I go back to the start of when we started talking about the Capitol riots, we'll add another 10 minutes on.
I mean, maybe we could just cut in for some questions and see if there's anything specific on us here.
I don't see any questions. And we talked about, yes, D Live is not working tonight.
I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't connect.
Yeah. Nephilium said, fighting in the Middle East is the new backpacking across Europe after graduation. True dat. Unfortunately. Very unfortunately. Ron says they should be protecting Syria, one of the few countries with a large Christian population. I don't know if I agree with that, but okay. Harvey got banned from someone's Twitch because she disagreed with him on that whole fiasco. I don't know what that whole fiasco means because I had to scroll back so far.
I actually talked to Harvey and DM about this, and she told me about that, and because she disagreed with the guy over what happened in the Capitol on Wednesday, she got banned from the chat.
Oh, okay. Matthew said the greatest meme was the office whiteboard with Jim, where the first page says the storming of the Capitol, and the second page says was just a no-knock raid on the feds.
Yeah, that one's in the Discord.
Mm-hmm. I said, turns out the government doesn't like no-knock raids when we do it to them. Only when they do it to us. Tongue in cheek. I really do regret that anybody got hurt.
I do, yeah.
I don't think that was right. Aimless Gamer, hi. I think that's a new person.
Yeah, he's up from over on Steven's stream. I recognize the name.
Oh, okay. We're glad that you jumped over and joined us.
In fact, no, I can't do it from Twitch there unless he sends a new message down there, but I'm gonna get on the Twitch and I'm gonna mod him up just so I get another Twitch one, because I know he's regularly on Twitch, and I don't have Twitch mods because nobody pops in over there.
Ron says that he thinks the quote-unquote concession speech was deep fake.
I've been hearing a lot about it. Do you believe any of that?
I don't know, because I haven't watched it. I just listened to the video that you played it, and I had listened to part of it before, but I hadn't watched the actual video. So I didn't realize that it looked like a deep fake because I haven't seen it with my own eyes. I've just listened to it. Matthew said, why did it take one day of people entering the Capitol for Democrats to be outraged by destruction of property, but we heard crickets out of the burning down of businesses and police stations? I, too, would like to know that answer.
And Aimless, if you pop back in the chat and I see you catch up to there, because, of course, when you start off on Twitch, your chat is cleared, I will make you, I'll mod you up over on Twitch side. I've got the Twitch chat up at this point.
Irad is here. I don't think I know who that is, but hello, welcome. Harvey says the GOP should burn and they would deserve it. Well, yes. Also, Lindsey Graham predicted that in 2016, and I thought that tweet aged very well. I think we're all caught up now. I had to do a really short skim, because otherwise we would have just added way too much time. So I'm sorry if I did not get to all of your comments.
All right. Well, I guess the first thing I got to ask you on this next topic here is, how many did you lose?
I actually just checked while we were streaming, and I'm up to 700.
700
out of 16,200. I lost 700.
Well, my rate is bigger than yours.
And counting, because I don't know if it's going to continue to go down. Maybe I should check again next week or something and see. But yeah, so far 700.
I lost 300, and my account was a tenth the size of yours. I lost 20% of my following.
Wow.
which is a little bit insane. I've actually started to bounce back and come back off of mine. So I know I've seen people with thousands upon thousands of people that are gone. Freckled Liberty lost well over 4,000 followers.
Wow. See, I wonder how many of these are just dummy accounts or like ghost accounts or things that are just like they just did a clean out,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's people, because I haven't seen anybody I know like over on Facebook say, "Oh my God, I lost access to my Twitter account." It's either I dumped Twitter because I'm mad that they're censoring people, or they don't use Twitter at all.
And I know that a lot of them did dump. I know that a bunch of people did start getting the ban hammer thrown at them, but once again, I've never had anybody directly come off of this. I think a lot of Liberty Twitter wound up being safe from this.
Yeah, I do think that.
But to start off this, all of this started this week on Friday when, come on NPR, open up. There we go. I thought I opened that already, but I guess I didn't. I do have the picture though. Where did I put the picture? There it is. This photo started circling around here, as you can see on here. Donald J. Trump, account suspended. Twitter suspends accounts that violate the Twitter rules. And a lot of people started talking about Orwellian language and everything else that went along with that, which I don't think this suspension of Donald Trump is necessarily Orwellian in and of itself, but what they did after that, what happened after that, I think is fairly Orwellian. Just to read quickly from NPR, Twitter permanently suspends Trump's citing risk of further incitement of violence. This comes, of course, after Zuckerberg banned Trump from Facebook and Instagram. Spotify banned him. Twitch banned him. Who else went on? Pinterest banned him. Shopify banned anything that has MAGA out of their stores.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, everything. Updated 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, Twitter has permanently suspended President Trump's account over a pattern of behavior that violated the company's rules. The action was the most sweeping punishment any major social media company has ever taken against Trump, who has used his Twitter account to announce White House policy, attack rivals, and widely disseminate misinformation. For years, Twitter has been under pressure from critics to limit the reach of Trump's falsehood-laced tweets. Calls for Trump to be banned from Twitter have also been long mounting, and a lot of people are celebrating this as a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of all this?
So originally, I was on the side of it's a private company. They have terms of service. You agree to use the service and you agree to abide by those terms of service. If you violate them, they have a right to ban you.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think that these platforms have a history of not applying the terms of service equally to all people, and they are subsidized by the government. I looked it up earlier today, and it's actually not as much as I thought it would be. I think Twitter
So
was like
how
0.2% that they were subsidized. Facebook was a little bit more, but not that much. I mean, it's less than 2% of their expenditures that are subsidized by the government. So it was actually less than I thought. But I do disagree when they apply these terms of service not equally. I mean, if you're going to apply them, then apply them equally.
Well,
Period.
and that's just it too, because on top of everything that the Donald has said, and I mean, dude likes to talk, and he likes to talk a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely does that. But with that being said, I mean, there have been people that have been openly calling for the death of Lindsey Graham, Donald Trump, Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett.
Yep.
People were calling for Amy Coney Barrett to be raped in
There's been a
front of
lot of
children.
that, and that stuff doesn't get taken down, even though it gets mass reported. There are still trafficking groups active on Facebook, and they get mass reported, and they take forever to take those down. And it's obvious what they are if you look at them. I've reported a few, that friends have tipped me off that exist. When they try to say, oh, like this needs to go, I'll go report it. But yeah, if you look at it, it's super obvious what it is. I mean, there's like serial numbers, like UPCs on photos of children. It is insane. And they don't take them down. They say this doesn't violate our terms of service. What? Seriously? No. And it's aggravating, but it is true. You agree to abide by their terms of service, and that gets you access to their audience. Now, in Twitter's case, Twitter doesn't have as much leeway as Facebook. Facebook is a profitable website and has been for many years. That is not the case with Twitter. Twitter was not actually profitable until like 2018. I mean, they lost money every year until 2 years ago.
Well, and I've said that. I've said that, and I speculated that too before. I mean, I joined Twitter the first time, and I mean, if I do get axed, I'm going to go and grab onto my backup account, which is my original Twitter account. But I started back on that just because that was the only way to apply for TBS's King of the Nerds, and I wanted to see if I could get on season 5.
I remember that show.
I had such a crush on Genevieve when that show first came out. Oh my god! And I wanted to apply and be on. That's the only reason I got a Twitter. But I mean, just even look at that. It wasn't fun. It was circling the drain. Nobody wanted to use it. Yeah, everybody's Twitter handle was under their name on TV everywhere, but nobody used it. Nobody talked about it until the Donald came down the escalator.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't join Twitter until after 2016. I didn't create a public figure page on Facebook until 2017. So I don't think I've told the story of how that all came about on this stream, but I have in other interviews. I was complaining about the election. I was not happy. I was not happy with the choices. I was not happy that Gary Johnson got locked out of the debates, even though he was so close to polling really well. And then they just stopped including him on polls. And I was complaining about it on Facebook, and a friend said tongue in cheek, like, well, if you're so upset about it, why don't you actually do something about it? And then me, being a redhead, not one to not take a challenge, I was like, oh, well, I will. Okay. So I didn't know where to start. I just made a page, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. That's pretty much what I do with my life. Like, generally, I'm going to start this project, and I have no idea what's going to happen. Sometimes it turns out well, sometimes it doesn't. So this one actually turned out well, because 2 years later, actually, no, I started the page in 2017, and then 2018, just a little over a year later, I went to New Mexico and worked for Gary. So, I mean, anything can happen. Social media does open doors for you when you put yourself out there, and it's an incredible tool when you know how to use it. And then there are people that know how to use it, and they use it for evil. Everybody's different.
That they do. But I mean, yeah, like I said, Twitter was circling the drain, like you said, and I've speculated as to why it was circling the drain, because you could do the exact same thing on your Instagram, on your Facebook with fan pages.
Yep.
You could still follow and celebrity stalk your favorite celebrity and go simp for them over on those sites, but you didn't have a character limit on those.
Yeah, much longer character limit.
I don't think there is a character limit on some of those, is there? I've seen some books on an Instagram post. I don't use Boomer Book anymore, so.
Maybe, I feel like there used to be a character limit on Facebook, but I don't think there is anymore. And I think Instagram was the same way. You used to be able to run out of characters on Instagram, but probably around the time they got bought by Facebook, all of that went away too, because they merged, and Facebook probably changed.
They got the Zuckerberg server space.
The coding, and yeah.
I have seen some books and Facebook comments, though, or Instagram comments, though. Like legit novels in there at some point. But yeah, and now they're back because that's the president's preferred platform. Well, not anymore.
Nope, not anymore. Yeah, and they also Parler is also offline now too. I think that's the next thing we're going to talk about as part of the social media purge.
Yeah, I wanted to talk just a bit about that, and I've got the Fox Business article up on this. Apple and Google suspend Parler from their app stores. Now, Google went out right away and said, "Know what? Nope, fuck that. You're gone." They went out and did that immediately, which they did that to Gab probably a year ago. I actually still have my old Motorola phone sitting on that table over there where my studio lights are.
Yeah.
Because it still has Gab on it.
Well, and the thing is that you can still download the Parler app from parler.com.
No, you
It's just
can't.
not in
I
the Google.
tried.
It just wasn't in the Google store, I thought.
I tried that last night and it didn't work.
Hmm. Well, they may have disabled it because they knew that Amazon servers were going to go down. But when it first broke, people were saying you can still go to the browser and download it.
Mm-hmm.
So is it inconvenient? Yes, because it's not with all the other apps.
Mm-hmm.
But could you still go and download it fairly easily? Yes. You just typed in a new browser and you could have the app.
Well, then Apple went the other direction and said, well, we'll let you stay on, but you have to put X censorship and Y censorship and Z censorship on that. And
Mm-hmm.
Parler gave them one of these, and now they're not on the Apple App Store anymore.
Yes.
And now, this is as of today. I actually don't even have an article up on this one here, but yeah, as of today, Amazon took them down too. So they have no web server. There is no Parler currently.
Well, and the thing is that my understanding of it, and I'm not a tech person, so I might not have a full understanding of it. I probably don't. Uh, but my impression is that if their system engineers know what the hell they're doing, and they have regularly backed up what was on the cloud servers, 10 people in 48 hours could get Parler back up and running if they had new servers.
Mm-hmm.
So that should not be an issue. And granted, they did have a very short notice. They only had 48 hours notice. So, it is a service interruption. It is very annoying. It's not right, but again, they probably agreed to some kind of terms of service with Amazon. And if that was in there, then there's not a whole lot you can do.
Well, I know Gap finally went out and made their own server farm that they could go out and do that, which they got a bunch of support to do with that. And of course, Gab is being promoted as a Nazi website because, well, it kind of is. I'm not going to lie. I've been on there before. I have a Gab
Parler is
account
not
too.
that great either. Parler is kind of a cesspool in itself too. I think Parler is worse than Twitter. It's just right-leaning instead of left-leaning. It's still just as partisan and just as nasty.
Yeah, I said earlier today. I mean, I have a Parler right now, but they see me as a raging leftist over there. They see someone like me, and probably you too, as a raging leftist over in a site like that.
Uh-huh.
It's entirely possible.
I basically downloaded it and created an account just to reserve my username.
Well, I did the same thing, yeah.
And I whatever the term is, like tweeted, whatever. I tweeted a few times, but yeah, I just wasn't interested in continuing to use it, especially because at one point I had some very hateful comments and I was like, I'm saying some pretty basic, like liberty friendly stuff. If you're a liberty friendly Republican, this should not bother you.
If only there were more of those, but hopefully with the Harris administration, some of those people over on that side might be a little bit more open to liberty. My fingers are crossed.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Let them have the boot on their neck a few years.
But they're only interested in it when it suits them. It's not a permanent thing for them. It's not actually principles for them. It's just, this is how I have to be. It's just like they didn't care about the debt for the last 4 years. They ran it up, $26 trillion? They don't give a crap.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden Joe Biden's in office and they're like, oh, the national debt. When did you care about that 2 years ago? Because I don't remember.
I did.
You didn't say anything.
I did.
I'm talking about the swamp.
Yeah.
The DC Republicans, the establishment Republicans. All of a sudden they care about the debt again. And they were not concerned at all about it when Donald Trump wanted to pass giant bloated defense spending bills.
Or massive stimuli.
Exactly. I don't feel very stimulated. Thank you very much.
I thought I had another one on this too. Maybe I didn't. I didn't have another one on this. I thought I did. Okay. Anyway, you had one in here that you added off at the last minute. Speaking of all this, and I wanted to see if you could introduce us to this. I'm hearing about this for the first time tonight. Like when you told me about this, I knew it was happening, but I didn't know what was happening. So tell us a little bit about Yale, and I'll get the picture that you sent me prepped.
Yes. So a lot of people are very familiar with Young Americans for Liberty. It's an organization that was initially billed as like a Tea Party, not a think tank, but a Tea Party organization. It was very friendly towards Tea Party Republicans like Justin Amash, Thomas Massey. They regularly host them as speakers at their events. I've been to their events. Lots of friends of mine who are libertarians have been invited to their events as guests or as speakers. They have an arm that is a super PAC that promotes and campaigns for what they call our liberty-minded Republicans. Some of them are more liberty-minded than others, and some of them are
I think
great.
I'm in that
And
camp.
some of them are great. So some of the candidates that they have endorsed in the past have been truly wonderful candidates. And I enjoyed the event that I went to, and I was supposed to go to the event back in August that was at the last minute canceled by the city of Dallas. So basically, Addison Garner, who was a former staffer and activist at YAL, and until recently was a staffer in Congressman Justin Amash's office. So very well respected in the liberty movement to people that know her. She shared her experience with sexual assault and misconduct at YAL, and was very frustrated, clearly, that she felt she had done everything in her power to bring the situation to the attention of the VP, to the organizers of YAL, the kind of upper management of YAL. She claims that she offered to host or facilitate training seminars and lots of other things so that it wouldn't occur again. And she released a 4-page statement basically detailing 7 different allegations of misconduct within the organization, many of them directed at Cliff Maloney directly, who is I don't know what his actual title is, but her quote says he fancies himself the godfather of the liberty movement, but instead of sending people to kneecap the goons who assaulted your daughter, he'll promote the goons and maybe help them run for office. Consent is supposed to be a cornerstone of libertarianism, but consent has been violated by staff members of Young Americans for Liberty for years with little to no repercussion. And like I said, she gave 7 very specific examples. I know of another person who has had a bad experience with YL who was not included in this list. I know of another event attendee that was also not included in this list. And apparently, according to libertarians like Julie Borowski, this has been an open secret for years. And I was not aware that it was an open secret. Otherwise, I never would have associated myself with YAL. I've only worked with YAL directly once, and that was when I was in New Mexico. And that was because I was also employed by a super PAC, and they were a super PAC. So we had a team of door knockers that were knocking for Gary Johnson, and their like group lead, team lead, regional director, whatever his title was, he and I got along really well. He was in my office a few times, and I never had any issues with them, but I also wasn't on the ground with them daily. So make of this what you will. I'm not going to go all, me too, believe all women. I do think that there is a problem here. I think that it is institutionalized, which is not good, because it's clearly not a one-time thing. It's clearly, like I said, institutionalized. Like, this has become a normal thing with YAL, because she's not just accusing Cliff, she's accusing other staffers. And the other people that I have talked to that have had bad experiences with various staffers at different levels of the organization. So this seems to be running rampant. And you have the screenshot that I sent you of the HR statement basically that they made. Mm-hmm. And I think that first sentence is really telling, if you wouldn't mind reading it.
Let me see if I can zoom in on it, because I can barely see it based on the resolution I have. Let me take studio mode off and see if I can see it. Okay, I can see it better now. Recent social media posts attacking YAL, the organization I started and love, have been brought to my attention. While I have great reluctance to address confidential HR matters publicly, I'd like to share that YAL takes any accusation of misconduct seriously. YAL prides itself on having an HR process that is easily accessible to our employees and student volunteers.
The problem I have with that statement is that it trivializes the individuals that are behind the claims being made, because they reduce it down to these are social media attacks.
Mm-hmm.
They're not social media attacks. It is not a social media campaign. It is people who are frustrated with this organization, who have proven via screenshots and screenshots of emails, screenshots of text messages. I mean, it's all out there. Addison Garner is on Twitter, and she has put out all of this information publicly, as well as another woman named Taylor, and I cannot for the life of me recall her last name, but I think she's referenced in this article. So if you want to read it, it trivializes them as individuals, along with the other women who have had these bad experiences. And I don't know that I haven't heard of any men having bad experiences, but certainly if they have, they should definitely come forward as well. But it's definitely sent kind of a ripple through the Liberty movement, because this was a very big organization, $7 to $12 million a year fundraised, which is a lot for a liberty-leaning organization. And it's very disappointing. Cliff has already made a statement saying that he denies all the allegations. That plus the HR statement does not give me a lot of faith that they're actually taking these seriously, because, like I said, they're reducing these women and individuals down to social media attacks, and they have not conducted any kind of independent investigation at all. And I don't know, it's very sad. This movement, I obviously care about it very much, but it's all of our principles are predicated on personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
If you are not willing to take personal responsibility for your own mistakes, you're not a good representative for liberty, and you should have to resign your position immediately.
Well, I know that, I mean, just from what I see too, off the outside of this, where people might take this and from the outside looking in say, oh, well, I mean, this can't be serious anyway, because look at how liberty is represented in some places. I mean, our mutual friend Britt over on the Freckles and Britt show went on a good 15 to 20 minute rant on the Freckles and Britt show over, and I'm not going to name drop or anything, but I think a lot of people over on Liberty Twitter would know who I'm talking about with this, but certain people who pretty much always have their tits out.
Yeah.
And with something like that being in along the same movement, where somebody in the outside could look at this and, say, oh, well, no, that's just the kind of thing they like over into something like that. And you're right, it does detract from the movement and the seriousness of it.
They confuse libertine with liberty.
Mm-hmm.
They are different things.
Absolutely. And one of the people in question that I was talking about has actually asked what the difference is between liberty and libertine. And, I think the person is a pleasant person, which Freckles said, of course I do. But I think that she is a pleasant person. But even still, it was all I could do to stop from commenting on that. And when she said, what does libertine mean? And I'm like, you. It was all I could do to stop from commenting that.
Yeah. For those of you who do not know, the official definition of libertine is basically a person, but it's oftentimes attributed to a man and not women, who behave as if they have no moral principles, especially when it comes to matters of sex and interpersonal relationships, or at least interpersonal sexual relationships, not like platonic friendships. Obviously, that's not the same definition as liberty.
Yeah.
Like generally.
Well, I mean, this goes right on too with the, what's the other big accusation that goes against Liberty Party? The kids thing.
The kids thing. Which kids thing?
You remember when what the hell was her name? Put up the post that said, If libertarians had a dating site, what it would be called? And that idiot senator from Utah, Senate candidate from Utah said, "It doesn't matter. Would kids still be able to use it?"
Yeah, that was
That
not
dude
good.
blocked me.
It's not good that people are so willing and so easily able to make that jump.
Hmm.
That's concerning. That's a PR issue for the liberty movement as a whole, but especially the Libertarian Party too. So adding this on top of it, we're supposed to be different than the other two parties. If there are people that are claiming to be libertarians and they're quote unquote bad libertarians because they don't take personal responsibility for their own actions, we don't need them. They shouldn't be here. They don't belong here because they are only willing to talk the talk and not walk the walk. And that makes them no better than any of the other politicians that they speak out against in DC.
Now, one of the questions that I have about this, then, because if this, I'm a big innocent until proven guilty person, but if
I
this
am
is
as
true,
well.
this is going to cause a vacuum as far as PACs go for the liberty movement. Is there another PAC that could come in and take their place? Is there another PAC in the works?
Students for Liberty is another organization that is kind of similar to Young Americans for Liberty, but Students for Liberty focuses a lot more on the educational aspect, not on electing Liberty candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So there would be a vacuum for another super PAC or another organization of some kind to kind of step in should this organization not survive. I think the most likely outcome is that eventually Cliff is forced to resign, and most people are not called. Okay. I've seen people calling for his resignation immediately. I've also seen people saying we need to do an independent investigation first before we demand anything like that. I think at the very least he should be placed on administrative leave. Because how can you continue to manage a team of people who some of them might feel victimized by you? That's probably not good. That's definitely not going to contribute to a healthy workplace environment.
No, and I mean, you're absolutely right off this, and everybody's in chaos at this point, too. I mean, it's not just liberty. Democrats and progressives can't get along with each other as much as they try to tell everyone they're the same people, and like you said a little bit earlier when we were talking about breaching the Capitol, there is a difference between the actual grand old party that's actual, well, for lack of a better word, war-loving fucking neocons,
Mm-hmm.
and the Trump party.
Right. Oh yeah, they definitely are different.
I mean, hell, just on the definition that I gave off of this here, one of the best things, there are two good things that I attribute to Donald Trump being the president. One is that he made it okay for other people to go out and at least try to run. And two, he turned a lot of the populist GOP side anti-war. Because it's not just the Liberty people. I see a lot of Trump people that are freaking out over the fact that we might go into war again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's a good thing that we can take out of this presidency. I wish we'd have changed his Twitter password years ago, but I digress on that one.
Yeah, so that is that's all I have to share as far as that goes, and we're only really sharing it one, because it is a story that is affecting a lot of people in the liberty movement, which are a lot of our listeners, myself, and other people that are in the Freedom Scoop network, because we all kind of consider ourselves part of the liberty movement at large. Mm-hmm. And also because no mainstream media sources have picked this up yet. So it's very much being swept under the rug. They're definitely trying to sweep it under the rug.
Well, on that, we've got 2 topics left in about 30 minutes. Do you want to do chat break now, or do you want to power through the rest of this here?
Chat has been actually incredibly quiet. Unsatiable says, what would you do if Trump grabbed you by the pussy?
Punch him.
He'd probably meet the business end of a gun.
Defensively,
That's
Susan.
assault. That's assault.
Defensively,
I'm sorry.
Susan.
Defensively, yes. Self-defensively, that is assault.
Well, if he was aggressive by it, but if you do remember the speech, though, It wasn't
The
the fact.
act itself is aggressive because it is unwanted. It's
Hold,
not
hold
if
on.
it's rough or not.
Hold on. Back that up there. You remember the speech that he gave on that bus? He said, they let you.
No,
He did say
get
that
a
in the
knee.
speech.
You get a knee to the groin at the very least,
Yeah.
and most likely lead poisoning.
Yeah. All right, so we got to talk about the second impeachment thing, and you mentioned some things off mic too that really I think need to be brought up off this. So I want to start back just a little bit before. We talked a little bit during the Capitol riots about the fact that they were talking about the 25th Amendment.
Mhm.
On Friday, Nancy Pelosi asked the Joint Chiefs of Staff about what she could do to prevent Trump from launching nuclear weapons in case he wanted to do so as a temper tantrum. This
What?
is from Politico. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke with the nation's top military officer on Friday about precautions in place to prevent President Trump from ordering a nuclear strike or conducting other military hostilities as Democrats seek his removal from office. The stunning revelation came in a letter from the Speaker to House Democrats outlining the next steps following a violent breach of the U.S. Capitol. Pelosi said she spoke to Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley about the guardrails put in place that could prevent an unstable president from wielding the military or the country's nuclear arsenal. And this isn't actual just mainstream news gossip. General Milley confirmed this. Let's see. Milley's spokesperson, Colonel Dave Butler, said Pelosi initiated the call with the chairman. He answered her questions regarding the process of nuclear command authority. So, yes, Nancy Pelosi went to the Joint Chiefs of Staff and said, what can I do to keep Donald Trump from launching a nuclear weapon as a temper tantrum?
I mean, I think he's off of his rocker, but I don't think he's that far off of his rocker. And Ron just said Pelosi's confusing Trump with that jackass swallows well. That I think might be true. She's probably senile. I wouldn't put it past her.
And there was, I mean, it wasn't just Pelosi right away. As soon as the Capitol riots went off, that Thursday, the news media and social media both started talking about whether or not he could do that and whether or not he would. So, I mean, it's not like this came out of thin air. People were starting to talk about this immediately. And I mean, yeah, like you said, he's nuts. But he's been very anti-war throughout his presidency. And I
But
think
not
that
anti-arms deal.
What's that?
So are we really anti-war if we're still pro-arms deal?
I'm more
I'd really
in the,
like an answer to that question.
well, let them fight it out amongst themselves and let's get our people out of it at least.
Well, yeah, but we just sold $23 billion worth of arms to one of the countries that signed the historic peace deals. That doesn't really sound like peace to me. Just saying.
Well, a well-armed society is a polite society.
They've been bombing Yemen for about 5 years now, so I think we have a pretty good idea of what those drones are going to be used for.
However, off of that, because we can argue with that one until the end of time, and we probably will be on this channel, by the way. Who's anti-war and who isn't off of this one? Off of this one, I mean, everything that I have seen from the tail end of the Trump presidency going into trying to screw the Biden presidency is trying to get troops out of areas where he's blocked by Congress anyway, and they won't let him get the money to transport him out of there, but he's been trying to get them out of there, so if Kamala really wants to have...
He's been trying to get them out. I mean, he could I think that's a political move.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it has anything to do with him actually being anti-war. I think it's just, I want to be the president that brought the troops home so that when I run for re-election, I can tell everyone, Biden sent them.
Mm-hmm.
I brought them home and Biden sent them.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely, I think
pro-war.
you're absolutely right on the money with that one too. I think a lot of that is putting him in a position where Biden is going to, well, if he wants to do the military action, he's actually got to sign the order to put them back there, put them back in.
Right. Exactly.
You're 100% on the nose with that one. But I don't see him trying to screw Biden in throwing a nuclear weapon at, I don't know, Oman or whatever the hell.
Yeah, I don't see that. I think that sounds pretty extreme even for Trump. I don't think he's really indicated that, honestly. His style is much more petty internal squabbles, not let's kick off World War III.
Yeah. And he is good at petty internal squabbles. He very much is.
Very good at it. Oh, yeah. 4D chess.
I have the best chess, okay? But I think some of this was predicated on the fact that this just came in today. Like, as I was waiting, I added this to the notes as I was waiting for you to get on the Zoom call. Lawmakers have drafted and released their article of impeachment against Trump.
Yes.
Which they talked about it this morning, and I read a little bit of this, but they've actually released it, and I believe they're going to be voting on it yet tonight here. House Democrats on Monday formally released a resolution to impeach President Trump after a draft of the article of impeachment circulated around the Capitol. The resolution was drafted following last Wednesday's Capitol riot. Trump spoke to his supporters prior to the mob reaching the Capitol, and House Democrats are charging him with willfully inciting violence against the government of the United States in the impeachment document.
They have as I told you, they have a very specific reason for doing this, and that is to prevent Trump from running for president in 2024. And as I said earlier, if it's not him that runs, it will be one of his children. I firmly believe that. He will run for president again. And if he is for some reason unable to run for president again, it will be a Trump offspring that will run for president again.
Well, I mean, there is more to it.
And the clear implication of that is, I'm installing one of my children, but I'm really the guy making the decision. So you're still getting Donald Trump. Because that's what the people want. That's what the base wants. They want Trump, and they don't care if it's legal. They don't care if there are impeachment articles. They don't care about any of that because they see all of it as illegitimate.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more than happy to elect imbecile Eric Trump because they know that Eric Trump's signature might be on the documents, and he might be the one sitting in the Oval Office chair, but Daddy's the one calling the shots.
I think they might kill him. I think
I wouldn't put it past him.
They were talking treason when they were getting ready to circulate the articles of impeachment.
Yeah, I believe it. They would definitely take it that far.
I think that might be coming up here. And I know Soleimani, we talked about that last week, is saber-rattling, saying he's going to go and have Interpol go and arrest Donald Trump as soon as he's out of office.
I'd be interested to see how that plays out.
But there are additional things that go along with just having him impeached and not able to run again. Removal from office denies you of being able to take a presidential pension. I did not know that until yesterday.
Oh, interesting. That's probably why Nixon quit instead of being removed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just learned that yesterday because I heard another podcaster bring it up, and then I didn't believe it, so I looked it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know that Donald Trump really cares about the money. It's more his ego that he cares about. Because he has a real estate empire. I mean, I think he's a terrible businessman. I think he does some really shady shit, but he's a rich man. He's very wealthy.
Yeah.
He doesn't need another $175,000 a year from the government.
No, that doesn't. He would probably turn around and donate that.
Break him. Sorry?
He would probably turn around and donate that, just like he's been doing with his regular presidential salary.
Probably. And Melania Trump, the first lady, gets a pension as well. It's not that much. I think it's like $25,000 or $30,000. So between the two of them, it's about $200,000.
But on the other side of this, and this has been something that I have, it's been sticking in my mind since the first day of the presidency. Not even since the day they elected, and it started circulating around on Google. Your Google autocomplete said, if you say, the first suggestion that came up was, how do I impeach a president? One of the things that seems to have terrified these people more than anything is the fact that Donald Trump might serve a full term. And they're expediting this. And even if they can get him pulled out on January 19th, that still puts the asterisk next to his name, and he has not served a full term as the president.
Yes, and I didn't send this to you, but you may have seen it. The State Department website was apparently changed by by a disgruntled staffer. That's supposedly what news reports are claiming, to say that Donald Trump's term ended today.
Yeah, I saw that too. Seawall actually pointed that out.
Mm-hmm. I went on the State Department website and searched Donald J. Trump, just searched his name, and I got a 404 error message. So they took it down. They nuked it really quickly.
Yeah, they got that all fixed. But I mean, people were talking about that left and right too. People were going nuts about this too. I mean, the reality show, The Federal Apprentice. I mean, everybody's been glued to it for the last few weeks.
Yep.
Do you think, and this is the question I have, do you think this impeachment goes anywhere? Because I know that we've had a lot of Republicans turn their back on Trump over the last few days because they don't longer have to worry about the reelection.
So because of that, I think the Democrats will push it harder than they did the first one, even if it takes a lot longer, because I actually don't know if they can impeach after the fact or not. I don't think they're going to get an impeachment before the 20th. They might. It would take an act of God, but they might try.
Well, they'll get the impeachment. I don't know if it's the trial that they're getting at because they've already said that they're going to try and push it to unanimous consent, and if they don't, it'll be on the floor tonight yet. Like it's probably on the floor right now.
Right, but I'm saying that the trial. I don't know legally how all that works exactly, because it's so close to the end of his term. But I do know that the motivations are pretty clear. They don't want him to be able to run for office again.
And furthermore,
but now that they have the support of the establishment GOP, because we saw what happened when anyone from the GOP considered breaking ranks and supporting the last attempted impeachment. Trump still had time in office left. He could make their lives a living hell. And I have a feeling that's why more of them didn't vote in favor of it.
Well, that and the fact that there was nothing there on that particular one.
Right. But now they do have more of a leg to stand on. And they also have some of the establishment members of the Republican Party on their side. So it wouldn't surprise me if they actually got an impeachment out of it. Will they get it before the end of his term? No. That's not enough time. That's not enough time to have a hearing, I don't think.
Well, and once again, they can expedite the hearing just as fast as Mitch McConnell threw the fucking thing out, which, once again, he was up for re-election too, keep in mind, in this election year. So he wanted those sweet, sweet mega votes.
Yeah, well, he wanted the Trump bucks too.
Give me the mega votes, guys.
All of the candidates that Trump endorsed in their primaries got a windfall of fundraising. Like millions of dollars. So when you're running for office at the state level, millions of dollars makes a difference.
It does.
Mitch McConnell does have a stranglehold on Kentucky.
Yeah.
I really hope that changes. Ideally.
And I mean,
ideally, I hope the turtle retires and that the curly-headed Paul will take his place, and that my wonderful Thomas Massey will then take Rand Paul's position as the junior senator. That would be my dream. If that actually happened, I might consider moving to Kentucky instead of Tennessee.
Interesting. Well, and speaking of people who were up for election and were riding on the Trump coattails, the Georgia runoff finished off today, and of course everybody's calling bullshit on that one too, which it absolutely is. So Raphael Warnock defeated Kelly Loeffler fairly handily, which I don't understand. Well, I do understand why, but I
think Kelly Loeffler lost a lot of street cred when she sold off those stocks and got accused of insider trading. That really hurt her reputation.
Well, it was interesting, too, because, I mean, that does show that a lot of this vote was not necessarily a partisan party line vote. People were looking at the name and saying, I don't want to vote for this woman. The Ossoff and Perdue race was much closer. Ossoff holding on and finally pulling it out after the end, but David Perdue was holding on very tight throughout. They called the Loeffler race that same night. They did not call the Ossoff race until the next day. However, people were crying a little bit foul over this picture, which it's in the show notes here. Let me get this up for you. Is it in? See, I put half my pictures in the video tab, and I don't know why, but I got this from the Redheaded Libertarian over on Twitter. She retweeted this picture out. It says, "This is Georgia. Look familiar." And you can see right about 11 o'clock at night, those votes just kind of jumped right up on the Democrat side. After they went off and stopped counting.
Yeah.
But of course, nobody gives a fuck anymore at this point. Because they're all worried about the Capitol and everything else off of this here. I would look at something like that and I would call foul too. I'm not going to lie. If you just saw a spike like that, nothing else on the Republican side, I would call foul on that too.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. I have issues with Warnock because I literally think he's a wife beater, and I can't imagine why anyone would have voted for him, even if they were a Democrat, except for they just wanted the Senate that badly.
Well, and skin color too. That had a
I
lot
don't
to
even
do with
think
it.
that I don't even think that mattered as much in this climate. I think it was more we have to have the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
And Democrats dumped a ton of money into Georgia between November and last week to try to get people to go to the polls, because runoff elections are a lot like midterms. Not a lot of people show up.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make sure, especially given that the presidential race was contested, they wanted to make damn sure that they got a blue House, a blue Senate, and a blue presidency. And if Donald Trump did manage to overturn the results of the election and become president, they wanted to have that House and Senate blue so that he couldn't do anything.
That's the American dream. Federal government that can't do anything.
It's my dream.
So
And that's what I said. I was like, I mean, I don't like either of those candidates, but I hope that they both get reelected, because at least it'll be in gridlock, and the government won't be able to do anything too badly.
I mean, even Manchin right now is starting to, maybe I will support their agenda after all. Maybe you guys, I don't know.
Plus, there's also been some Republicans that have left the GOP in the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I mean, the whole thing with the filibuster was hinging on Joe Manchin, or so they say. But I mean, this is in a Senate that Susan Collins exists. And Lisa Murkowski, and Mitt Romney, for that matter. So, I don't know what's going to come off of this. We will definitely see. For the most part, I do hope it goes back to a point where I don't have to worry about what the federal government does, but, I've been looking at the Democratic agenda for way too long to believe that.
Right. So,
I want to touch just a little bit on foreign policy before we do Surprise Stupidity and catch up with the live chat and head out of here, because we talked a bit about Iran rattling their saber. Well, Kim Jong-un got back in the news just this morning. This is from today. North Korea's Kim calls U.S. our biggest enemy in a challenge to Biden. Which, I mean, he was quiet up until, yesterday.
interesting. That definitely undermines the narrative, the Republican narrative, that Biden's in bed with China. Because North Korea and China are bosom buddies.
Yeah, they are.
They're tight. So if North Korea isn't happy with Biden,
well, to read this article though, it seems like it's less that North Korea is mad at Biden and more the fact that he wants, they have their state propaganda that's piped through speakers throughout their entire country that says that America is the issue, is the root of all of their problems and has been for all of time. I think he wants to take a crack at his country. He just didn't feel that he could get away with it.
You think he wants to take a crack at reunification?
Maybe. But reunification with him in charge. But I think he wants to take a crack at us. Because he's been told since he was a kid that the United States is the source of all of North Korea's problems. And if we destroy the United States, then all of a sudden everything's going to be good for North Korea again. And a lot of his citizens believe that as well. I mean, I've heard from expats from North Korea, people who've escaped from North Korea, that, and once again, I know that there's some bias that goes along with that, and innocent until proven guilty, but I've heard it from enough people that have said that this is what they do. That's what they tell people from birth, that America is the source of all of our problems. So I don't know if it's necessarily that he wants to take the crack at Biden, but he wants to take a crack at the U.S.
Gotcha. I believe it.
And I do believe that he thought that, as much as we've said that, Trump hasn't started a new war, I'm pretty positive that Kim Jong Un believed that if he'd have dropped the big one on the U.S. while Trump was in office, there wouldn't be a North Korea anymore.
I agree with that.
Whereas with Biden and Kamala, if he does it over there, then it's going to be centuries of ground troops over there forever because the weapon manufacturer only gets to sell one nuke. They can sell tanks for 2 generations.
Right, exactly. And brand new drones and other unmanned aircraft and all kinds of other military equipment like lasers and cameras and God knows what else.
Maybe they'll put the lasers on shark heads and have them circle North Korea. So this is going to be an interesting one to see. What happens with North Korea under a Democrat presidency?
We're about to find out.
All right. I got to walk back, though, because we got to go back to the Capitol riots one more time, because I've got some surprise stupidity from the Capitol riots.
Okay.
You've probably seen this story. It was circulating all the way around. Sometimes I can't surprise you, but sometimes I can. So I'm going to read to you from The Hill here. Axe distances itself from body spray apparently left by Capitol rioter. I take it this one is news to you.
It is. Okay, so I saw a tweet that was screenshot and turned into a meme where it said it was like 2016. Well, surely the next 4 years won't be that bad. And then it said 2020 Axe body spray denounces riots, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I thought it was funny, but I thought it was making the point that literally any company and every company was just distancing themselves from any social, like, civil liberties issue because it was just everything was such a hot button. I did not realize that this was the reason.
So Morgan Gestalter writes over on The Hill, the men's grooming company Axe on Thursday attempted to distance itself from the pro-Trump rioter who apparently left a can of its body spray behind during the Capitol breach. We'd rather be lonely than with that mob, Axe said in the tweet. And to look at the picture, and I should have loaded this up and brought it in here, but to look at the picture, you see just a lonely can of Axe among some of the splintered pieces of wood from the door getting blown out.
That's hilarious.
The account was responding to a picture from Washington Post reporter Mike DeBonis, which showed a discarded Axe can among the debris following Wednesday's violence. Axe condemns yesterday's acts of violence and hate at the Capitol. We believe that the democratic process and the peaceful transition of power, the company said. So they legitimately made a statement because one of their cans was left as litter after the Capitol breach.
Hysterical. Okay, I just Googled it, or I just searched for it on Twitter and found it. That is amazing.
Ayan Chatterjee tweets back in response to this. Axe, welcome to the resistance.
Oh my God.
Well, that's all that I have. I know I was hoping that we could get Steven on, but he had some previous engagements tonight here. So, if you want to catch us up with the live chat here, I'm going to see if I can't find, might be wrong. I can't do the D-Live chats because D-Live didn't connect. So we'll be connecting with that. But I'll see if Might Be Wrong popped into the live chat here. I'll mod him up. But you want to catch us up with that?
Yeah. Let's go back to when we were talking about the 25th Amendment. Matthew said, did we not provide arms to Britain before we entered World War II? I'm guessing that's his response to my comments about arms deals not being totally in sync with peace deals. We did. Nailbender said, peace occurs because I have guns and my neighbors do not. Yeah, that's called intimidation. That's not really peace. Matthew said, did you see where Trump started the process of normalizing relations with Taiwan? I kind of thought we had already done that.
Actually,
given the number,
given the
number of refugees that we have accepted over the years, I thought that was already a thing.
I did hear about that, but I never followed up on it. But yeah, I guess this week Trump did go out and say, yeah, I recognize Taiwan as its own country.
I mean, cool. We needed to do that a long time ago, but that's also one of those petty undermining Biden things. Because now that puts Biden in a really tough position with China. And as I think it was Ron, he said that, he said North Korea and China aren't that tight. The U.S. has pressured China in the past to rein in Kim. And my response was, we have less leverage now than we used to have. And that is definitely one of the reasons why. So, yeah, I could totally see Trump. I mean, that's definitely a petty Trump move to make Biden's relationship with China and North Korea more difficult by recognizing Taiwan. Because then Biden either has to walk it back or he has to stand alongside that statement.
Yep.
And it's actually the State Department that handles a lot of that, not necessarily the president. So whoever will be the Secretary of State will be very instrumental in that. That could make all the difference, honestly.
And in addition to that, I don't believe that Biden could coherently recognize a country right now because he can't recognize which shoe goes on which foot.
He barely recognizes his wife. Ron said if he takes a crack and the U.S. goes away, then he has to make his country better for his people or suffer the consequences. I don't think he really cares. Unsatiable said, we spend close to $1 trillion on security here, and the government was overrun in a couple of hours by the Duck Dynasty crew. Go figure. That's good. Ron said he thinks the siege was allowed to happen. Unsatiable says, no, it's just as simple as the government being bad at everything. I kind of agree.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. That's it.
That is it then. Where's the outro? There it is. Why was my mic so hot? Let's turn that down a little bit. At the end of the show, of course. All right. So, I want to once again thank everybody who came by and chatted with us tonight, who came and hung out, who kept us on point and on topic here. If you would like to keep back up with me, you can find me over on, well, not Twitter, because I'm not going to, right now, contribute to advancing their cause, but you can find me over on Parler whenever they bring the thing back up there. That is Ed's Block Parlay, if you would like. Do you have another alternative presence that you want to promote at this point?
Not really, but I started a Substack newsletter, so just in case I get deplatformed, I still have a way to communicate with an audience. So I will post the link to that in our Discord, and I also post some of those articles on my Twitter page. So if you click on one of those, it will give you the option to subscribe to the newsletter. It is free for now. And I try to write 2 or 3 times a week. I kind of took a break while I was dealing with COVID, but I should have a couple of articles out this week.
So go over there and check that out as well, you guys. That would be awesome. And if you want to keep up with us, you can always join the Discord. That is linked in the description of all platforms there. And that will have a way to get a hold of us if we do get nuked from our Twitters or do have to go to another site as well. So go and check that out. Lastly, you can go and check us out over on freedomscoop.com, which is back up and running. And you can also find great shows such as the R-Rated Conservative, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Freckles and Brit Show, The Daily Ignoramus, and The Generational Gap, who will be up in here in just a bit, so go and check them out over there. And lastly, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. Lead them out of here.
Everybody have a great week and make good choices.
Take care.